let's see. Here's a brief history of April Fool's Day from what I could compile and some of the top pranks from around the world that are related to the history. And it mostly looks like government pranks. I don't know. Here we go. All right. They changed the calendar at one point, and some people were confused in France in the 16th century. They didn't know we changed the calendar. And so they were walking around like fools, I guess, abiding by the other calendar, and the other people made fun of them. That's comedy in the 16th century. But they stuck fishes on their backs, and it was called April Fish. So if you were an April Fish, you were an April Fool. Now, however, contrary to that story, Scotland claims credit for coming up with this thing, and they got 2 days, even including the tally day. They do April Fools on 2 days, and they claim that they are the origin story of sticking a note on your coworker's back. You know what I'm saying, David? You know the note, like, kick me, I'm stupid, or kick me, I smell, or like, you know, I drank your last beer, like whatever, you know, like stuck on your back. This one's really funny. This is like, you hire somebody to be a messenger, and they got to deliver an erroneous message to somebody else, and that person sends you on delivering another message and another message. You just keep delivering messages all day. It sounds like a prank on an Amazon driver. No, it's just like a prank on your buddy to like send them. They're the April Fool. Does that make sense? Like the messenger is the fool in that scenario, right? This is one of my favorites, though. The spaghetti harvest of 1957 is broadcast by the BBC. The Swiss farmers reported that they had a great spaghetti harvest that year. You know, yielded good crops.
Harvesting some spaghetti.
Harvesting pasta. That sounds legitimate. The BBC also reported in another year about flying penguins. Or there was a travel agency that reported they would give free trips to Mars on a rocket. Which is funny because Apple TV has a show about selling people like real estate plots on the moon. Right now, they have a show like that. So kind of similar to that plot.
Is it a fiction or is it like a reality show?
No, that would be really funny if they did like a documentary about there is an agency that has sold real estate on the moon.
That's
which doesn't make any sense because like the government and countries claim spots on the moon. So there's there's real estate companies that they sell you like, hey, we'll get you that spot by the Sea of Tranquility, you know, poolside. You know what I'm saying?
Or is it like timeshares but for Mars?
Right.
Yeah, it seems more like timeshares for the moon is like the show. What is that show called? All I know is Billy Crudup's in it. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. Now the title escapes me because I wasn't going to go into detail about that show, so I didn't write it down. Another report was like, the BBC, I guess, does this like traditionally, right? Because another report they kicked out with was that gravity was going to disappear for a day or be so reduced that you could jump off the planet. That's kind of funny. Or humorous, amusing. They're mostly just amusing. Denmark's like, we're giving away free wine. So people are showing up at the parliament offices with buckets and wheelbarrows and, you know, stuff to take the wine back home. That one's pretty good. What else do I got? I can't read my scratches. I had another French story, but then I don't know. Whatever. It's like impossible to read. You guys ever get pranked on April Fool's Day? Or do the pranking?
I think the worst was a new girlfriend at the time convinced me that she was pregnant, which was kind of not funny. How new the relationship was at the time.
David, that's actually called a trap. There's all kinds of relationship shows, movies, and books about getting trapped, boy.
Well, at least she revealed it was a prank.
That's a different scenario, brother.
Honestly, I'm a bad liar. I'm a bad pranker. I just am not good at it, so can't do it.
Yeah. I'm not so good at that.
Oh, dang. Anyway, the people yammering on, that's Dangerous Dave, right? He's going to pull the dangerous facts about tonight's movie, and that's Jordan Savage. She's so savage, she can review a movie without having watched it. She'll just drop her opinions, and we got to deal with it. That's the way it is. And, of course, I'm Johnny Spoiler. I only spoil the movies I love. And that's it. Binge-Watchers podcast. Here we go. Home video headlines. We'll just keep cruising along. It's the latest and greatest in TV and movies. Actually, it's not even the latest and greatest. It's kind of biased because actually I'm just picking things I want to talk about. Otherwise, what's the point? I used to ask the crew to come up with some taglines, but then I never knew. I was always surprised by what they pulled out. But anyway, there's this movie called Men at Work, which came out in like the 90s, like Charlie Sheen and his brother Emilio Estevez. And they have a politician using like mafia types to dump toxic waste in the ocean, and then in real life there was just this extensive study saying like DDT actually got dropped into the coastline. I'm like, oh man. So David, we were just swimming in DDT in our childhood. That's fun. That's real fun. Take the whole family down to the California
memories.
shorelines, go on down to Huntington Beach, maybe see a stingray, suck up some forever chemicals. It's just funny that the plot of the movie, which is like just a ridiculous comedy, became reality. So anyway, I wrote that down. In another domestic nightmare, there's conflicting reports. I don't know which bit. This one breaks my heart. Jonathan Majors is major trouble, right? Like he's being brought up on like domestic assault charges. Supposedly he may have assaulted his girlfriend in a cab ride. But then, of course, by the time he gets to court, he's saying, no, I called 911 myself because she was having some kind of psychotic episode. Don't know which way it's going to go. I saw that his sponsors were already pulling like his advertisements, and he's a huge movie star. I mean, he's like Kane the Conqueror in Marvel. He's in Creed 3 as the villain. He has another, like they're saying like he has an Oscar-worthy movie coming out called Magazine Dreams or something like that. Anyway, it would be heartbreaking if he turned out to be a bastard. That's all. Like if he, you know what I mean? If he's really, because like a theater director supposedly chimed in on Twitter and said like, oh yeah, he's a sociopath and he's like a super aggressive person. I'm like, man, is it steroids? It's always roids. It gets all of them. There's like a famous wrestler who killed himself and his family. Do you know about this guy?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Chris
I don't know.
Benoit?
I don't
Is that his
remember
name?
their name or anything, but I remember. I know who you're talking about.
Anyway, I'm treading on some dangerous water, I know, folks, and I'm not even the one who's dangerous on the show. That's Dave's job. But
I'm not even going to get that dangerous.
Yeah. So anyway, and I shouldn't care that much because I don't personally know Jonathan Majors, but it just sucks all the way around.
Right.
Like you wouldn't want like a. He's just, I guess that's what the confliction is. It's like he's a really good actor, and I would hate for him to be not a nice person in real life. That's basically to summarize it.
This was his year. Like he had 2 weeks of year, and like you couldn't be anybody. Like he just presented at the Oscars, so like you couldn't be writing higher than him right now, and then to do this. I mean, I don't know.
So maybe that's what it is. Like maybe fame at that point, it just breaks your mind and like you can't take it anymore. And then like you self-destruct and horrible things happen.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's playing a lot of bad guys lately. I don't know if that's messing with the psyche, but
yeah, but usually usually the actors that play the bad guys are the best people in real life. And usually people that play the heroes are the scumbags, like Steven Seagal. You know what I mean? Like usually they're the jerks. It's the other way around, like because they want to play what their opposite is or whatever, right? I know Jordan's very, very quiet.
Well, it's just sad news if it's true, and it's sad news if it's not true.
You're right. There's no winning. It's like bad all the way around.
It's just bad. Yeah,
because somebody's hurt. We don't know the cause. Yeah, it just sucks all the way around. You're right.
Right.
Robert Pattinson and Robert Downey Jr. are going to be in a funny serial killer thriller from Adam McKay. I don't care about Pattinson, one way or the other. Whatever.
I think that's a fun duo. I will be excited to see them on screen.
Yeah.
I've kind of warmed up to Pattinson. He's more than the twinkly Vampire.
Because he's your Batman, David? He's your Batman now?
He was a good Batman, okay?
Is he a good Batman? Or better? Okay, usually you get like a good Bruce Wayne or a good Batman. It's hard to get the combo.
Okay.
Where does he land?
He's a good Bruce Wayne, I would say. Like, Christian Bale's always going to be my Batman, personally. But... yeah.
Strong endorsement for Christian Bale. David? Pattinson Batman. You actually talked about it 6 months ago.
I liked him, but I'm kind of on her. I mean, which one is my Batman? Yeah, I agree with you, Bale. I know, controversial pick because I didn't say, Keaton, although Keaton's pretty awesome.
I can't tell if this is an April Fool's joke or if this is legitimate, but there's more and more stories about it, so leaning towards being legitimate news. Blockbuster Video might be roaring back with 5 stores in California, some in San Diego. What do you think, Dave?
I could see that happening because I've seen videos of like, especially in like LA, they're already having like pop-up video stores where people like you or me just, create a video store in some space. So I could see Blockbuster cashing in. They're like, well, hey, Well, we've already got all the merchant or all the logos and everything. So
I'm gonna send them to your house, David. Tuesdays and Thursdays, go rent David's videos.
I mean, yeah, you could. I mean, I have a bigger selection than some old stores we've been to.
Man, all I remember is being a Blockbuster store manager in training and getting fired with 1,300 managers at the same time.
Oh,
However, I loved working in a video store. It's like a dream job. You just sit there, you talk about movies, you make recommendations, you try to reduce late fees for the notorious people that don't return their videos.
That was me.
Jordan, I wasn't gonna name drop, but I kind of felt like it was going that way.
Well, I worked at you couldn't call it a competitor because all we did was sell. We didn't rent videos. But
let me ask Jordan.
Funkos.
Jordan, you weren't that teenage girl that laughed at me when I explained the plot of Howard the Duck, right?
That was not me.
Okay,
so I'm safe. I'm safe.
Right. Just wanted to make sure. Did I tell you that story, David?
No.
We'll save that for another podcast. Howard the Duck.
Sounds like you need to save that for your therapist. Was that traumatic? Did they break your heart?
The podcast is therapy. You think I'm going to pay money when I can just turn a microphone on and act like I know what I'm talking about and people should listen to me and totally validate the fact that I exist? All right. Kumail Nanjiani and Patton Oswalt are going to be in the new Ghostbusters sequel. Working title, Ghostbusters Firehouse. Direct sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is a sequel that replaces the other sequel. Actually, the other one's not really a sequel because it takes place in its own universe, and the other Ghostbusters don't exist there.
Wait, which are you talking about? The Lady Ghostbusters?
Yeah,
or the last one.
Yeah,
Lady Ghostbusters is its own thing.
Yeah, they're like in a micro.
So it's its own universe. It's the multiverse, whatever.
In comic books, it's crossed over with the other Ghostbuster universes.
Did it?
So much to keep track of these days. I don't know how you guys do it.
Everything's a multiverse.
John just schooled me because I didn't know there was like comic books crossing over people.
Yeah, there's like what is it? Is it Image IDW? I don't know if they're the same company. There's basically a comic book company. They do all the off prints of like they did the new Transformers runs with comics, and they did they might have done some G.I. Joe, but they basically decided that like the regular Ghostbusters that we know from the first two movies, plus the cartoon Ghostbusters and real Ghostbusters, and the Lady Ghostbusters are all in their own universes, and then they have like a crossover event, and they had comics about it.
Yeah,
is this like a Spider-Verse, Ghostverse kind of thing they're going?
Right.
Well, everything's a multiverse, and actually later on tonight we're going to be talking about a plot that ChatGPT kicked out, where we're playing people in a spring break movie, and guess what? The characters are podcasters, so it's like a Binge-Watchers podcast in another universe, kind of. So we'll have our own multiverse situation happening.
Yeah, I'm just gonna need a flow chart for everything now. Like
a flow chart.
Yeah.
The worst is we talked about it several times. Is the Halloween movies trying to unravel how to follow the Halloween movies is the worst. Let's see. Oh, tonight's movie. It's called Club Dread. Years ago, Coconut Pete, played by Bill Paxton, had a hit record, but he now runs a tropical island resort. And then paradise starts to turn into a living hell when an unknown killer begins slaughtering the staff. And as the body count rises, the suspicion among the survivors does too. And then it's up to Coconut Pete and what's left of the staff to solve the mystery and stop the bloodshed. We talked about this movie back in summer/2020 on an episode where we covered Laid to Rest. And then I think I might have said, here's my staff pick. You guys should watch Club Dread. And then Dave and I were doing a deep dive on Google earlier today, and hopefully he pulled some magic out of his hat. What do you got, David?
Unfortunately, I didn't get through the entire article, but I did read enough. But
I was just giving you props, and then you immediately said, well, I didn't do as good a job as I should have.
Well, what can I say? I have a lot of self-hatred, so I find ways to foil myself. Yeah.
That's a bold statement, too. Self-hatred. It's like one step beyond self-loathing.
I'm a hair above self-loathing,
Do you pull out your hair?
Wait.
There's a movie about Google where one of the characters is always plucking out his eyebrows.
That has to be like a fear thing.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like a tick.
Well, he's afraid of his mom. Like she gives him like a nervous tick, and he just like. And then one point it shows the dad in the car. He like waves at his son, and he's got like one of his eyebrows is gone too. Like the mom stresses him out so much they have that in common or whatever. But Dave, I'm basically trying to pull this all back into like David's self-hate mechanism. Like, how do you punish yourself, Dave?
Just a lot of self-loathing.
Now it's about whose therapy is it about now, Dave?
Yeah, no, we've turned it in my therapy.
All comes back around, boy.
This is actually considered. Broken Lizard said they consider this to be their funniest movie. They actually showed the movie to the real Jimmy Buffett. For those who don't know, Coconut Pete is basically they even say it in the movie, like he's a ripoff of Jimmy Buffett, or rather, in the movie, Jimmy Buffett rips off him. But in any case, they actually showed this to the real Jimmy Buffett, who liked it so much he actually got permission to play some of the movie songs while he was on one of his tours.
That's cool as hell.
I love
it. Come to find out, this movie has nods to a lot of slashers. Particularly, there's a nod to Terror Train, where they explain that somebody was conned into having sex with a dead person, which is like Terror Train, which I think we covered some time ago. And there's a lot of nods to Friday the 13th. And John brought up even like I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. It took place on in the Caribbean, and Jack Black is like the J character, or what was the character?
It's kind of like in Club Dread. There's a character called Lars, who's the massage therapist, who's played by Kevin Heffernan, and is kind of like a little bit overweight and has long hair. But then Chandra
Daskar?
Sukar. No, I have it written down. Chandra Sekhar. Okay. Jay Chandrasekhar plays Putnam, who's the tennis
guy,
coach,
British
but has
guy.
dreadlocks. So Jack Black, I think, is in I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which is on a tropical island. They're at a resort and somebody's killing people.
Yeah.
And I think even one point they're including the kitchen, which they include in Club Dread. But there's like a pot stoner hippie, which is kind of like the two characters in Club Dread are kind of like mashed together in the Jack Black version. So, gosh, I feel like they've also seen I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which came out in '98. This came out in the early 2000s, so they might have seen it.
I would say it's a safe bet.
That says like they supposedly referenced also Student Bodies, which is a slasher that I haven't actually seen, so I don't know if so. But I guess like
it's like a parody itself.
I don't know if you're gonna tell us, but they're playing back their records, which is like a nod to Deep Red, and I'm like, oh, that's a really deep cut. Like they say, like, but they're also referencing Dario Argento's Italian slasher movies in Club Dread. But it mostly feels like Friday the 13th, and I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. To me personally, I feel like it. Even at the end, there's a moment where he pops out of the water, and that's taken right out of the original Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
So the final jump scare is like inspired by Friday the 13th. So anyway. It probably it references probably maybe 5 to 7 slasher films, but then also, I mean, I don't know if these are considered references if it talks about other movies, like they make Lassie jokes. They're playing Pac-Man in a maze, but Pac-Man's not a movie; it's a video game.
Right.
So there's other pop culture references that aren't movies.
Well, so as you and I were talking today, I'm convinced that this movie may have influenced another good horror movie, because there's a shot in this movie that I haven't seen done but one other time in a movie called Midnight Meat Train that came out, I think, 4 years after this. But it's the title sequence where the very first kill, somebody gets their head chopped off, and it becomes the victim's point of view, and the head rolls around. Well, there in Midnight Meat Train, there's another extended sequence on the train where somebody gets decapitated, and it becomes the point of view.
We're probably overlooking a classic film. Those both are referencing at the same. You know what I mean? We're probably overlooking.
I mean, maybe I'm willing to accept that, but like I haven't seen a ton of movies where you see a severed head and then it's that point of view. I don't know, but maybe I'm missing something.
So do you want to mention that they're a comedy group, Broken Lizard or whatever, and they made these?
Yeah, actually movies? I did. They actually formed at Colgate College in 1989. They moved to New York and called themselves Broken Lizard. And there's like a lot of myth around what it actually means. Some people say they just got drunk and came up with the name. Some people say it's like a euphemism for like
a dick that won't work. I mean, there's no definitive reason or why.
But their most infamous movie is probably where they're playing cops in Super Troopers.
Super Troopers,
right?
yeah.
They made a couple movies. There's a rumor that they're making a part 3.
Well, they actually have a new movie. This is my last fact.
Oh yeah,
they have Quasi coming out next month on 420. Wink, wink. They know their audience.
Quasimodo, so it's like a Hunchback of Notre Dame parody.
Basically, them doing their Hunchback of Notre Dame movie, which is, I give them credit. They don't keep doing the same thing over and over. I mean, they've only done one sequel to Super Troopers, but
this had inspired me to start watching Beer Fest. I hadn't seen it before, but we got it kicking last night after watching.
That might be my personal favorite of theirs.
Yeah,
myself.
Okay, I'll wait to ratings to talk about who my favorites are in the movie. I'll wait. So we'll go. Do we want to go to favorite bits? Yeah,
bits. Or do we have a commercial break coming?
Our next partner is Athletic Greens. I've been taking AG1 by Athletic Greens for about 2 weeks now. I gave AG1 a try because, no, this is a secret. Don't tell anyone. I have a secret passion for probiotics, but I actually appreciate that their probiotics are non-dairy. Do I take AG1 in the morning? Well, yeah, you can, but I'm not a morning guy. I avoid mornings if I can. I take it in the afternoon, but before I do anything else, before the coffee, the energy drinks, any work I got to do, AG1 first. It's actually designed so you can live healthier and better without having to do a lot. Every scoop is packed with 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food source ingredients. It's the healthiest thing you can do in about under a minute. I notice it helps me with my mood, actually. My comedy style is satire. If you've listened to the show, you know this. However, I can get a little down sometimes. I was actually surprised that AG1 brought me back up, shifted the mood, made it a little bit lighter, and that's what I'm looking for. I'll be looking for that again with AG1. It's 1 scoop of powder mixed with water once a day. AG1 is delivered to me every month, so it's been easy to rotate it into my habits. Now, if you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/spoiler. That's athleticgreens.com/spoiler and check it out.
I love it. All right. So we're doing the bits. There were so many bits that were my favorite. The campfire story when they're telling the myth of Machete. What's the Machete villain's name? Obviously, I didn't want to spoil.
Well, spoiler alert, the real killer's name is Sam, but I don't remember Machete
something.
Oh man.
Anyways, I don't know why it's
Machete Phil or Gil or Jim. Anyway, I don't know the other Machete.
But I love it when Putnam steals the show, because the nephew, right, is like telling the story of how he's, dickless running around the forest, and Putnam stands up and he's got the Ken doll.
The tuck back, yeah.
Yeah, he's rocking the Ken doll. It just made me laugh so hard. I love the whole Penelope kind of reference to Penelope throughout the entire movie. I was reading some fun facts that they had overheard someone behind them say they were looking at a viewing of a movie or something, and there was an actress's name of Penelope on the screen, and someone behind them said Penelope. That's a crazy name. I just think that's so funny that they continued that through. And probably my favorite kill was the electrocution, when the machete killer held up the TV and definitely fried somebody in the pool. But there was lots to laugh at throughout the whole movie. What about you, Dave?
I had quite a few, because I like the Broken Lizard guys, and this is the only one of their major ones I hadn't seen yet. So just knowing who these guys are and how they are comedically, just seeing Kevin Heffernan with his dreadlocks coming in just kind of instantly killed me before he even said a word, just because, especially if you think of his character in Super Troopers.
No, Jay has the dreadlocks.
Well, I mean, he had mange, or
his hair changes 3 times. So I don't know what the deal with his character.
Beach waves.
His character's name is
but
Lars,
in
Heffernan,
any case, he had a crazy.
He has long hair, but if you notice that it changed throughout the movie.
Yeah, but in any case, I mean, if you know his character from Super Troopers, it was complete opposite of that, and I'm already laughing.
Coconut Pete getting pissed off when there's a lady like drunk saying play Margaritaville, and like just to see him go off like no, like go into a long diatribe about no, he stole from me. I came up with Pina Colada Bird 7 years prior.
I didn't know that Jimmy Buffett actually enjoyed the songs, because they're not the songs that they had Bill Paxton dub are not that bad or whatever,
No, they're not.
They're
That's
so funny. They're so funny. I'm so glad that I watched this movie with captions, because I do that all the time anyways. But to like be able to read the lyrics of the songs were just hilarious.
They play back a song to try to see if it has clues in it, right? And it sounds like a SpongeBob episode, like an adventure from the SpongeBob cartoon. It's really fun.
But I guess my last favorite bit was John kind of alluded to it earlier, but spoiler alert, the main guy or main killer gets like pinned and his body chopped basically in half by rope spinning around him, and like John said, there is a nod to Friday the 13th where like you're thinking, oh, there's no way he's completely dead, he was split in half, he sunk to the bottom. Nope, his upper torso like the upper half just like still tries to grab somebody, and of course that is
because traditionally like in these movies the killer always comes back for one more, right? So pops out of the water, but pops out of the water the way that they introduced Jason Voorhees at the end of the original Friday the 13th. It's like the same shot of this half and disemboweled killer popping up at the end.
But yeah, what about you, John? Yeah.
I love it when the pineapple kills the pear.
And his guts come out.
Yeah, so they're playing some kind of like manual version of Pac-Man where they're all in costumes and like,
and they keep drinking. They like the pellets are just martinis.
The killer usually has like this totem-esque like tribal mask on, but he finds that they've left the pineapple costume unoccupied, so he puts it on, and then the pear who's eating a pear, right? Gets disemboweled or whatever. Like, so the pineapple kills the pear. Incredible. Because there's no other slasher movie that could like do that. The only other slasher movies that like have that level of like nostalgia but comedy is like Freaky or Happy Death Day, which are relatively modern. This one beat them to the punch with these kind of like reflexive moments or something. But anyway, I mean, just the fact that I get to sit here on a podcast and go like, I just love it when the pineapple killed the pear. I mean, what other opportunities would you have to say something like that?
There was a lot of personification with the pear. Like the pear had actual real guts when he had been stabbed. Like it was like the pear's organs were like spewing out of the pear's body. So it made me laugh too.
Cut him deep. Where are we? Oh, we're gonna rate the movie. All right, we have our own system. Binge now, binge later, binge never. Watch it now. Get to it eventually on your playlist, or don't put this in. You're going to waste your time. You're going to count the cancer cells growing in your body because it just killed you to watch it. Jordan, what does this line up for you? It's a slasher movie.
This was a total binge now. I woke up to a surprise blizzard today of like 6 inches of snowmageddon, and I thought about Club Dread all day today, and it's a little oasis of a movie. Lots of laughs, good looking chicks, funny music. You can't go wrong. So, Dave, what about you?
Honestly, I think before the discussion, I was leaning on a binge later, but like this is kind of revisiting and rethinking about it, pushed me over to a binge now. Watch it with friends, especially if you can watch it with friends. Honestly, this has a lot in common. This would make a great double feature with like Shaun of the Dead, which came out the same year. Because like this is like I was telling John earlier, take out the comedy. This is still a legit horror movie or a legit slasher. It works both ways. It's funny and it has good kills. So yeah, binge now. John?
This is my 4th time watching it, and the only part that bothered me was the detectives, and I didn't remember them being in the movie so much before the police boat gets blown up. But I guess they were always there, and I just never noticed that they were there. However, it is interesting what I noticed this time. Like, this is about the 4th time I watched it, that there are definitely hints that Sam is the murderer the whole time. Like even like he scratches out the word fun above the word police on his vest. I'm like, oh, I never watched him do that. Like, there's a couple things that he does where you're just like, oh, okay, like it was him the whole time. I mean, his reason for being a killer is outrageous. Like, his coworker didn't want to share the fun with the two chicks, and also he ran out of marijuana or something, right? So he just like snaps one day, like they're just working ordinary Thursday, and then he just like snaps, right? Because usually that's what's different. That's a departure from these movies. Is usually there's like a personal reason. So the movie actually takes the time when it introduces the other staff members to give them a reason to be the murderer in the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's not this great reason for the dude to be killing everybody. But, that's the parody part of it, I guess. Anyway, binge now because, again, probably the reason it came up on our previous Summer Slash episode is because if you're searching for all these slasher movies and you run out, you go, what do you go to next? And this one is probably underrated and overlooked all the time. And it's, even with the comedy, it's by the book, paint the numbers. It's a good slasher movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They follow the patterns they're supposed to follow. It's got Brittany Daniel. She's the one that plays Jenny. So she's like the final girl in this movie. You might have seen her in a couple episodes of Always Sunny. She actually started acting a long time ago when she was a kid with her twin, whose name is, I think, is Cynthia. But they were on Sweet Valley High back in the day when like every 90s or whatever TV show was about teens and like they're talking like Saved by the Bell type stuff or Degrassi High, that kind of stuff. But she's in Joe Dirt. Remember Joe Dirt, David? She's the main girl in Joe Dirt.
I can tell you what a lot of people probably remember her from.
White Chicks.
Because my wife watched just like, oh, White Chicks. I'm like, who? Her? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, she was actually married to Keenan Ivory Wayans at one point, but now she's married to some real estate dude named Adam Tooney or whatever, whose name sounds familiar, and I thought he was a celebrity too, but then he's just a real estate dude. However, recently, her sister donated an egg so she could have a baby. That's what's going on in Brittany Daniels' life. I always liked Brittany Daniels, and it might be because of this one movie. Like, I don't think it's because of White Chicks. I think it's because of Club Dread, and like I want to see her in other things, probably because of Club Dread.
You know who I kept confusing her until I got my head straight and like, oh, that's not her. I kept thinking it was Maria Bello, if you know who that actress is.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Jenny McCarthy. They're all kind of in the same thing. Like,
oh,
I'm sure they could all go to the same audition. You know, like you walk in and you're like, oh, I'm so unique. You walk in, there's like 200 versions of you sitting in a room. Jordan, you ever go to a catacall like audition? Like, hey, we're gonna put you in this commercial, and then you show up and there's like 100 other Jordans, and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on? What's happening here? Multiverse nightmares.
Sounds so scary.
Yeah. What else is going on? Oh, the favorites from the Broken Lizard. So we already mentioned Kevin Heffernan a couple of times. It sounds like my co-hosts like him too. Played Lars in this movie. Was Farva, the outrageous cop in Super Troopers, that was kind of like he was like a love to hate. Like he was intentionally making you hate him in that movie, right?
Yeah.
Because he was like a super cop. And he played Landfill and the twin brother Gil in Beer Fest, which Jordan was saying she was watching. Like at one point, his character gets trapped in a turbine filled with beer, and then he just tries to.
That's right.
I almost fell out of my chair. He just tries to drink this entire vat of beer, and then like the joke is it immediately cuts to him being dead in that movie. Like he couldn't. There's no way he could suck down a whole turbine of beer. Like it's basically, folks. It's like he's in like a. I don't even know if these things really exist at distilleries or not. Like where they make the beer. Like.
Although
it's just basically a giant blender of beer. I don't know what to say. Like it's a giant tub of beer.
Those are real, and I am picturing it right now.
Yeah.
So
you're making me laugh about other parts of that movie because I'm immediately thinking of like when his brother comes in, which I can't remember his name.
Yeah, they're like we just killed the main character, but we're just gonna write his brother in, and he's exactly the same dude.
Oh, and he's written me letters and told me so much about all you guys. It's like we don't even have to go through that awkward getting to know each other stage. Let's just move forward.
Interesting. Can't wait to finish it.
Oh, sorry, we're killing.
Oh,
for you.
It's fine. You know, I feel like as soon as I saw like Lars, the character, come on screen, I was like, I had to pause. I was like, wait a second. And so I like looked up the cast. Sometimes I need to have context of a movie before I watch it, and sometimes I don't. And this is one of those ones that I was like really glad that I didn't, because I was surprised. I was like, oh shit, it's the whole freaking cast in this. So I knew it was gonna be a good one.
They wrote a heavy hitter into this movie whose name is MC Gainey. He was in Con Air. He goes all the way back to Time After Time. He usually pops up in like these character parts, and you're just like, this guy's like in everything, and he crops up. In this movie, he's Coconut Pete's like security guard, who supposedly has like history as like an FBI profiler,
Right?
and is like, as soon as this guy shows up, I'm gonna take him out. And the joke, obviously, is that his character is killed off almost immediately, right? Right. In Club Dread. However, it's like every time he's also in Sideways as like a punk dude whose wife is like hooks up with the guys in Sideways, and then he shows up. And anyway,
And see,
if anybody wants to see MC Gainey naked, go watch Sideways. My point is this: that he's such a good actor. Like, I want to see him like in a leading role. Dude's getting old now; he's like 70. But I always thought
somebody's
like
got to
he's
write him
good
like
enough.
that indie movie where he's like the lead character,
Right?
piece.
I mean, like his Michelle Yeoh like moment or something, because
Right.
like he's so good that it's like, why doesn't he have like a leading role or something? I don't think he's ever, as far as I'm aware of, he's been in like 50 TV shows and 50 movies, and dude's never had like a leading role, as far as I know. But again, when you see him, you're comfortable with him because you see him enough times. You're like, oh, that's that dude. He's gonna do something really cool. Here we go. Jay Chandrasekhar, tried to say his name correctly earlier. Hopefully I wrote it down. You know what I do when I can't get these names right? I go to pronouncename.com. Do you know this guy's like, you know, like, or the YouTube video that shows you how to pronounce a name that you don't understand. If it's not Irish, it's not a real name. If it's not Mick in front of it, we're not going to talk. Just kidding. Where are we? Oh, I'm just making random jokes now. Anyway, he directs all their stuff, and supposedly he founded the group. He played Putnam in this movie with the dreadlocks, the tennis coach, who does the tuck in, like
Ken doll.
What's the movie?
Buffalo
The series
Bill.
movie with Jodie Foster.
Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, he's doing the. Oh, damn it! I almost fell out of my chair again.
The tuck back.
The tuck back.
People know what you mean when you say the tuck back.
All right, just say the tuck back. Okay. But yeah, he's got and he's doing Animal Control, the show now. But he's done Community. He's done a bunch of Undeclared. He's done a bunch of television, and also he did
a movie
the
came out last year that
when,
nobody saw.
When Dukes of Hazzard was still culturally acceptable, he did the Dukes of Hazzard movie, the remake. You know, Willie Nelson's in it. Jessica Simpson might be in it too. Is that right, David? Is she in that movie?
She is.
She was Daisy
Hey,
Duke.
but folks, at one point, people wanted Jessica Simpson on their radio, on their TVs, and in their movies. We've done pretty much everything. Let's see. Oh, we have this thing coming out called, well, actually, because it's Savage Spring Break, we have a new t-shirt, new merch. You can get it as stickers, coffee mugs. It's basically like somebody has a Denver-style sunglass on, like Pit Viper sunglasses or whatever they're called. But it's a pineapple getting chopped in half by an axe to go along with these slasher movies. I'm like verbally describing. I'm like alt describing the image. Like, we have an axe killing a pineapple person or whatever, cartoon pineapple dude. And it's called Savage Spring Break, which I mentioned at the top of the episode. So we're trying to kick out the special merch with the special episodes as they happen. We're usually not quick enough, but now we have an artist that works with us, Chris Moy, so we can throw it out there. Jordan says she's got to have this one.
Oh, it is a must. So
I'll figure out a way to get it shipped off or whatever. I don't know. You want a cup or a t-shirt?
T-shirt.
Or both? T-shirt first.
Okay. Both.
Both. You're like, both. Slip that out there, and I gotta do boom.
If you ask it.
Yeah. So to go along with this thing, I actually had ChatGPT because that's all the rage. This dumb computer thing that everybody's doing, like tell it to do this and tell it to do that. I don't think it's that smart. It's still looking to paint off the walls and needs to be direct. Like, but I think like maybe it's not smart on purpose, because if it's too smart, then it's the Terminator and we're all dead.
Right.
Like we're just giving it TaskRabbit stuff to do, but we don't want it to ever be in charge.
And
Anyway.
the thing is, it's gonna get smarter too, which is kind of spooky.
Just pumping it full of information about us. So I was like, let's write an outline to Savage Spring Break, which is a horror movie that stars the three of us. Include a podcast, but let's call it this, and let's do that, and this is who the killer is, and this is how it has to happen, and also include this as the final surprise. And then like here's what me and my co-writer ChatGPT came up. Do you have to give it credit, David? Does it have IP? Like, do you have to give it points like WGA, like co-written by?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Where's the rights?
We'll have to have our lawyers look into that.
I know there's going to be cases, right? There's going to be court cases where like we're taking ChatGPT to court, or it's taking us to court, and guess who wrote the closing arguments? ChatGPT on both sides of the table. You know. So this movie is called Savage Spring Break, with us in it. The tagline is, "This spring break, the only thing savage is the killer." All right. So it stars Johnny Spoiler as Travis, Jordan Savage as Tawny, Donnie, and Bonnie, David as Frankie the Fridge, and Lisa Wilcox. You might know her from Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5. She's playing Tanya. Okay, you ready for what this movie's about? Okay.
Go for it.
The Film Fridge podcast crew, Travis, Tawny, and Frankie the Fridge, head to their beach house for their spring break and special wedding event. They plan to spend their days drinking and watching horror movies. Tawny reveals that she has a twin sister, Donnie, who's locked in the basement due to her mental illness. They hear
Perfectly
about
rational way to deal with that.
Exactly.
Just lock them in there.
Yeah.
They're not people.
Apparently you feed her. I don't know. She seems healthy. Okay. They hear about a string of murders happening in the area and decide to ignore it. Of course we're going to ignore the fact. Yeah, everybody's getting murdered. We're just hanging out for spring break. Why would we care? Frankie, who is a horror movie buff, starts noticing similarities between the murders and horror movies. Now here's Act 2. Frankie dies in a gruesome murder.
Oh.
All the bridesmaids and groomsmen begin to be targets by the killer. Travis and Tawny suspect Donnie is the killer, as she had escaped from the basement the night that Frankie was murdered. They try to find Donnie, but instead they find Bonnie, who claims to be Tawny's long-lost sister. They are skeptical, but Bonnie tells them that their mother, Tanya, was a lunatic nurse who stole Bonnie and raised her separately from Tawny and Donnie. This is where it gets Lifetime Movie of the Week right here. Then, the search for Donnie continues. Travis gets separated from the group, and then Bonnie poses as Tawny. Like, you're going to have to bring all your acting skills to this.
It's the twinception again.
You're playing triplets, and one of them is a murderer. We don't know which one. All right. Tawny finds Donnie, who reveals that she's not the serial killer. This is Act 3. She's not the serial killer, but was trying to warn them about Bonnie and Tanya. Donnie reveals to Tawny that the plan to replace Tawny during her spring break wedding ceremony to Travis, and then Bonnie would kill Travis to take his fortune. I didn't even know that Travis had money. Well, apparently he's got money, David. Frank must have discovered this, and that's why he was butchered. So at least there's a reason why you got killed, Dave. You found out all the stuff.
Wasn't in vain.
Tawny races against time to stop Bonnie and Tanya. You're the hero, Jordan. Final girl.
Let's go.
Travis is at the altar with Bonnie, believing that she is Tawny. In a final confrontation, Travis and Tawny fight Bonnie and Tanya and eventually kill them. The movie ends with Travis and Tawny getting married and Donnie being released from the basement. Then, the Film Fridge podcast crew reflect on their savage spring break and mourn the loss of Frankie, a.k.a. the Fridge, who died trying to solve the mystery. They reveal that Donnie, here's the twist. They reveal that Donnie has taken Tawny's place on the podcast, and Tawny is now locked away in the basement.
I was going to say hashtag free Donnie, but she is a freaking two-timer.
What?
That's wild.
Oscar-worthy performances by Jordan Savage having to play
Three
psychotic
personalities. Yeah.
You know, David, the reason you were really cut out of the movie is you had all the best lines, and I couldn't, you know, just like William Shatner saying, "Don't give Leonard Nimoy all the best lines. Let's cut his scenes down." You know, you know, even Spock's the logical one. Let's give his best stuff to the Shatner. Anyway, meanwhile, Jordan's writing the book about like, and then John and David got into a fight on set. It's a tell-all.
Yes.
Went to blows.
That's the movie that the computer wrote for us, folks.
Thank
Computer,
you.
AI, I don't know, language-based, blah, 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 blah.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, anyway. That's Savage Spring Break. Order it now on demand or go to the new Blockbuster and rent the damn thing.
There you go.
Yeah, it'll be on the shelf as a Blockbuster exclusive. Yeah, and if you rent 2, you get 1 free. Is that how it works, David?
Usually. Oh,
What's the
that's
name
gonna
of your
suck
video
that-
store?
My video store? Dave's Den. I don't know.
Sounds like a place you get murdered. For real.
Come get murdered or a video.
Wow.
Hmm. Oh, this
What's
is-
going on next week? We're going to continue Savage Spring Break. We're going to watch Corvette Summer. We're actually going to do like an exclusive preview of the Japanese remake of The Cube, which is coming out at some point on this thing called Screambox. That'll be fun. Based on Dave's attitude, I would suggest don't rent his videos because you might die. You might die.
You'll definitely die if you rent my videos.
Forget. to
Actually, no,
return
you'll
them.
die if you bring them back scratched. Is what
Yeah.
happens. Yeah.
Or you could just serve them pancakes. Everybody could just sit around eating pancakes.
Okay.
Oh, you don't know which David you're getting because technically there's David and then there's the one he has locked in the basement.
The Den David.
See, I'm beginning to think I might be the evil Dave because I do have a goatee right now.
Did
Mm.
you
So-
absorb your twin in the womb?
It's like Bender.
Bender did to his twin. He's a robot. He
What
can
was
still
his-
have a twin.
What was his twin's name? His evil twin's name?
Oh, I just.
Oh, that's
saw
right, they
that
gave him, like, a
episode
little
recently,
goatee.
too.
I know,
thing,
me
right?
too. I
The
just
magnetic
watched
goatee.
it.
I can't remember.
Oh well, I thought we were gonna
Next
have
time.
extra something, but that's it. That's all I got. There will probably be a sequel. If you made a movie like called Savage Spring Break, there would be 2, 3, 4, 7.
There would be a lot.
Hmm.
If it follows other slasher movies, you got to have one with psychic powers. Like, how did Donnie get out of that basement in the first place? She used her little psychic powers, and then you got to go to outer space.
I was gonna say, yeah.
You got to
Sometimes hell, if you're that type of story.
Mm.
Whoa. I'm really confused by the number of twins, so I don't know which one is actually the bad one at this point.
In one of the sequels, do we find out like they're quintuplets? So like a fourth one pops up. Shawnee.
There you go.